Hello YouTube, this is SKillous. As you probably all know, the tournament with the biggest prize pool ever in StarCraft just concluded. $1 million was split among the players, and this tournament obviously gave us a lot of beautiful games. And this is why I'm back today with some more StarCraft content again. And there is one player in particular that, in my opinion, at least for my sphere of interests, did the most impressive things. And this is herO, because he is a Protoss player and he performed the best among all the Protoss players who qualified to this event. And to be honest, I was very impressed. I was very impressed by his performance, by his games, by his strategy, by his decision making and everything. So today I wanna start a mini series where I will look at the best games herO played in this competition. And today we're gonna start with series he played against Serral in losers bracket finals. I picked the best games. I only gonna show 2 games out of 5 in the series, but in my opinion they were the most interesting, and especially the second one. The second one, in my opinion, is probably the best PvZ played in 2024. I'm not even sure if there were better PvZs in 2023, but yeah, in 2024 this is definitely the best I've ever seen. So yeah, I hope it will be fun for you. The game starts very simple, very passive for herO. He opened up gate, gas gate nexus. He didn't scout at all and went for a Stargate on his nut. Voider is the first unit. The reason for that is because of this target positioning. As you can see, Serral is trying to scout with Overlord what is happening, and he can't see if herO is going for second or third Oracle. I think in this situation it doesn't really matter that much, so this position didn't matter, but maybe, for example, if herO would go across the map with his Voider to kill another Overlord, right? And Serral would sacrifice his OV to see what's happening, he wouldn't see the third Oracle. I mean second Oracle, third Stargate unit that is coming out of Stargate, which is quite a big tell for Zerg in general. So I guess that's the reason why herO positioned his target this way. And other than that, I want to point out that herO went for one Adept only. Void Ray Oracle, he just tries to get as much eco going as possible. So after first Void and Oracle, we go into Twilight and Forge. And pretty much he doubles down on his economy, so he doesn't try to pressure his opponent that much. And yeah, especially if you open up Void Ray, it's usually not possible, right? Void Ray is more of a vision denial type of opening, where you try to base your game on mind games more than trying to outplay your opponent to like kill main workers with oracles or adepts. You mostly try to work on your own economy and make your opponent believe you're doing something that you're actually not doing. So yeah, as you can see, Oracle is very slow-paced. It didn't really try. He didn't even try to die for Oracle for workers, right? He just kept killing creep, killed a couple of Zerglings, I believe. Yeah, stopped 2 Cryptomers from going forward, which is a big deal. And at home we try to show nothing to our opponent. At this stage of the game, herO decides, okay, this is probably enough of denial, of the scout denial, because I guess the idea was that he was pretending this, then he's going for a 4-gate glaive follow-up, which is a build that Zerg has to respect a lot. And as we can see in the production tab, Serral is actually going for a couple of roaches. This is exactly the safety measure you need against this kind of builds, right? You want to get roaches a little bit earlier and therefore protect yourself from annoying adepts, because with links it might be very hard to deal with that. But it was not the case. Instead, herO is going for Stalkers, and Stalkers are exactly the units that are good against roaches, obviously. So follow-up is 8 Gateway Prism +1 blink timing. To be honest, I'm not sure if it's the best build order ever. I can explain. Usually when you play the build orders like this, you really expect you to yourself to deal damage early on with your initial Adepts and Oracles, because then it's very hard. It makes it very hard for Zerg to deal with it. But in this case, herO was mostly relying on mind games, right? And Serral is he's not new to the game, so he actually read herO quite well, I think. So he has enough units, but at the same time, Serral's drone count is not that high. We are only at 66 drones, and here is at this point he probably realizes, okay, there is no way I can actually break this position, so he gets some extra probes. He tries to go for another round of the Stalker aggression, but at this point I think it's quite apparent that it won't really take him far. And if you look at the units lost up, it actually looks very good for herO. He didn't overextend, he didn't blink forward, he was just slowly trying to pick on Serral's army, try to get a little bit of value here and there. Now he's like, okay, he's saying that, okay, I can't really deal more damage, let's transition. I already, like, maybe it wasn't the most successful attack ever, but I didn't lose anything, right? And my trades were fine. My opponent probably doesn't have that many workers, right? Because he was afraid, and he actually made a lot of roaches. Roaches are a big investment, so now he's like, okay, it's fine. We can transition into Templar Archives, we can transition into +2, get some Immortals, because Immortals are obviously good against roaches that his opponent has. Try to get some more damage, but not focusing too much on it anymore. A very nice position behind the bushes, because it's quite hard for Zerg to jump on top of you, right? He can't really have any air vision, right? Because Overlords are gonna die very quickly. 4 mutas are seen by herO, so he goes for Phoenix right away, very unfortunate supply block, so Phoenix doesn't start right away, but we still have plenty of time because mutas were chasing the Prism, and it's also not that many of them, right? We saw 4, so probably not that big of a commitment. Another thing that I want to point out, it probably wasn't seen, but with this observer, herO saw that there is no gases on the 4th base. So I believe because of that, he was like, okay, if my opponent has only 6 gases by far, he's probably not committing into mutas that hard, right? Because even if you're staying on relatively low drone count as Zerg, you still wanna go for more gases if you go for mass mutas. So in this situation, herO probably realizes it, okay, I should be fine. I shouldn't die to mass mutas, because if you're actually playing against mass mutas, you have to get that second Stargate going, some Phoenix upgrades, pulsar beams for the range, +1 attack. But in this case, we can just get cannons, we can get like 2-3 Phoenix to make sure we have some mobile anti-air, and after that we probably feel fine. Very good observer positioning that helps us spot these mutas coming. Maybe we will be able to intercept 1 or 2. Yes, very good job. Mutas are very expensive, and what is also important is that every time you kill 1 muta, it becomes so much weaker against probes, because I believe you need 5 mutas to one-shot probes. I'm actually not sure. This is a... yeah, I'm not a Zerg player, so I'm not sure, but there is a certain amount of mutas that Zergs are making, and every time you kill 1, it makes them kill probes way slower. So it's always nice to get mutas killed. So now here is like, okay, that's also the reason why he went for Storm so conveniently, right? Because obviously if you play against mass mutas, you don't really want to get Storm, because otherwise you will spend all of your gas into High Templars. They're quite expensive, so you really don't want to rush into Storm too fast until you have enough anti-muta forces. But in this case he felt safe enough because of lack of these gases on the 4th base. So now we just comfortably transition into Stargates, because mutas didn't do enough damage at all. Like if you look at the workers killed, it was 13, which might sound like a lot, but it was really... these workers were killed in a very prolonged amount of time. So if you look at the resource lost up, in the end, it's still in the favor of Protoss. Yeah, he rebuilt these probes obviously already, because we are on 75 probes, which is a very healthy economy. So definitely we don't really have any struggles in that regard. Some more Immortals, and I believe we're gonna transition into Carriers. Another Cybercore is on the way, so herO is really doubling down on this Carrier transition that he's cooking. It's a very good way of playing this map, because I think once you get to a decent career count, you can get the map control on this map, and I believe if you get map control on this map, it becomes very hard for Zerg, and I think this was the main idea of herO, because as you see, there is 2 corner bases on the left corner and right top corner, and these bases are usually quite hard for Zerg to mine out, and if you establish map control, you kill the creep in between the bases, and it becomes even harder for Zerg. So this is usually the goal of Protoss. So, and in general, to be honest, if you're talking about ZVP in general, you always want to get some map control. Darkshine is on the way. I also kind of like this adjustment from herO. He always does that, or I guess it's not adjustment, it's just the thing he always does. He always gets this Darkshine. I think it's a cool thing. It's a cool option to have. It's cool to be able to warp a couple of DTs if your opponent, for example, counterattacks with roaches or links, and without overseer, because it's usually way harder to get overseer somewhere than a bunch of roaches or links. So you can just warp to DTs, right, and it will help a lot, because DTs are very strong if they're going unnoticed. I can tell you that. And meanwhile, we are getting to carriers. herO feels strong enough to get some base denial. Very nice job there. Stalkers. I really like this Stalker force that were left behind, because now he kind of makes Serral think about 2 forces at the same time, right? He has to deal with the Stalkers. Although they dive on the base, I'm not really sure if it was that good, but what was cool about this maneuver is that it made Serral not pay enough attention on this front. Maybe he would otherwise send the link across the map and be more ready to this, although he's still ready actually. That's quite crazy, but this is Serral, he's very good at this situation. herO sees that, he's like, okay, I tried my best, this move didn't work out, so I'll just go back. Obviously you never wanna attack into... You really never wanna attack into lurkers that are already sieged, so usually the recipe in fighting lurkers is always zoning them out with Storm and Immortals, and attacking them when they're unsieged, or attacking when you have a very big concave. And in this case, on the gold base of Zerg, it's pretty much impossible to have a big concave, right? Because if Zerg controls the right part, the bottom part of Xel'Naga, you can't really go around, and it's still gonna be quite a tight space, so you can't really, quite a narrow space, so you can't really go. Another attempt of getting this base down. I guess the main thing you want to do is control Xel'Naga. Now we see that lurkers are probably on the right side. I believe a couple of zealots went there and they saw that there are a lot of lurkers, so herO decides to commit into this base. It's fairly unprotected, only 2 lurkers, couple of spores, so we are more than fine here. A roach counterattack is happening at the same time, but as I said, it's very important to secure these corner bases for the late game, because when you're gonna split them up, it will be much harder to take. So, by the way, these 2 DTs that I were talking about earlier come into play. I'm not really sure if they... Yeah, I think herO was a little bit slow on the reaction. Like he could get them a little bit earlier and probably save this base, but still they come in handy. They make these roaches run away into the Nidus Swarm. They're probably also gonna kill the Nidus Swarm. Okay, there is an Overseer that came back from the main base, the one that was very multi-purposeful Overseer. But look how active herO is with his army all the time. He's always trying to run around, he always tries to find Serral out of position, and so far I would say he has been successful. He killed the 6 base on the right side of the map, he killed the 6 base on the left side of the map. Yes, he's losing his own bases, but I think as time passes by and as Zerg gets stronger and stronger army, it becomes harder and harder for them to take new bases, because the army becomes much less mobile, right? Like Broodlords are much less mobile than just Hydra, Viper, Lurker army, right? So once again, herO sees that, okay, this is my opportunity to go. He sees that there is not enough Lurkers, not enough Broodlords, so he can pounce on the base. At the same time, herO sees that some Lurkers are attacking his base, but this is a bit too late, because we already got the base, so we can recall. Some Stalkers are warped in. I really like this addition, because Stalkers allow you to chase these lurkers, so they can't really run away too far. And also stalkers, when you have stalkers, it's very scary for Zerg to move with his broodlords, right? Because once broodlords are out of position, once they are not supported with infestors or vipers, you can just jump on top of them. Here, actually, stalkers are quite good against lurkers as well, because there were only 4 of them left, so one stalker jumped, they dodged a lot of shots this way. Mothership is abducted, but I'm not really sure if Serral has enough forces to kill the ground army of herO. A very nice kiting to the left side, so broodlords are not attacking stalkers and Archons, so herO actually manages to win this fight. I really thought there were enough Corruptors to deal with this carrier force, but it was not quite enough, so now this base is also under attack, and herO gets such good trades. I believe this is almost impossible now for Serral to take a base and take a good fight, because look at all the bases. Now Serral is only on 3 bases, and herO is on 5, so this is definitely a very good spot to be in as Protoss, and herO doesn't stop. He's like, okay, so now I know that you're probably very broke, you probably don't have enough units, so I will try to keep going. Gets a Corruptor, gets a Queen, sees that this base is not being retaken, so I guess we can just pull back a little bit, because there is no real reason to attack, right? Because at this point, if we are going to throw the game somehow, it's probably gonna be by attacking into a lot of broodlords, right? In a good position with queens, maybe like a viper with a blinding cloud, right? Combo. Yeah, like this, for example. You see, like stalkers are. It's very scary to use them offensively. So he's like, okay, time is definitely on my side. He checked once again that there is no 5th base on the top right side. He was like, okay, Zerg is stuck on 4 bases. I'm taking my 6th base, so there is nothing I should be afraid of. So let just give me some time. I will get all the upgrades. As you can see, it's 3, 3, 2 on the way. Mothership is on the way. Tempest are on the way. Tempest is obviously a very good counter to broodlords, even if, especially if the Zerg is on a low base count, because then they're probably gonna sit behind spores, right? And you can just pick all the spores with slowly with Tempest. So this is exactly what herO is doing. He is taking his time, establishing all the bases he needs, establish the map control. Look, the beautiful map control. We control all the Zilnagas, we have zealots around the map, and now when we feel comfortable, he also does a very powerful move. He sends his mothership across the map, and I think this is probably the biggest takeaway we should take from the herO games. This is, I think, the way he uses his mothership in late game is very, very powerful, and in general his army movement is very powerful. So we should probably learn, we should all learn from that. So this mothership comes to defend this base, but it's still present on the map, right? So Serral kind of tries to intercept it with some Corruptors and Viper force. As you can see on the minimap, it was on the right side. So now herO knows that, okay, this force is probably not present on the left side of the map, so there is no 5th base either here as well. So he's like, okay, what can you do to me, really? I have enough anti-air, I'm maxed out. So at this point he feels like he can be active, because once again, as long as you just keep denying the bases, even if you're gonna take a bad fight, and it does look like not the best fight maybe, because of a parasitic bomb, carriers die, but Tempest still stays strong, and I believe that even with such a fight, it still looks quite good for our Korean Protoss player. The 6th base on the top right side was under attack, but Mothership held strong, I believe. Yeah, as you can see, kind of was a little bit bruised here. So Serral tried to make some kind of a move, but I'm afraid this is just not going to work. We can probably fast track this game a little bit, because at this point Serral just has no chance, right? He has 2 Corruptors against Protoss that is about to get maxed out, and broodlords are trying to do something across the map, right? But yeah, at this point I'm afraid that for Serral the game is over, and he's about to GG very soon. Yeah, this is exactly what happens, and let's jump to the next one. we just watched game 1 of the series, so now I want to show you the very last game of this best of 5 series that these two played against each other. I think this might be the best game I've seen by far this year, and especially in PvZ there is no doubt, and probably even in all the other matchups as well. So I really hope you will enjoy this one. The start looks similar, but it's actually quite different, because herO went for no scout, gateway, cyber first, nexus, but he still goes for a quick stargate because he skipped scout, so he has more gas. So the idea of this build is that we get 2 adepts quicker, and we still get relatively quick stargate. It's a bit hard for me to judge if it's like amazing, but I don't hate it at all. So I can't really hate this build, because it still makes your economy quite good, right? But Zerg is still forced to respect your adepts, because you will send 2 adepts across the map, and it will yeah, I mean, Zerg obviously needs to spend their larva on Zerglings instead of drones, and as we all know, 2 Zerglings is pretty much 1 drone, right? So if you can do that in the early game, we always take this trade. We always try to force out Zerglings, especially since Protoss doesn't really have this dynamic, right? Yes, of course, if you honor your adept, you technically get your probe a little bit slower, but you still build them simultaneously, right? So for Zerg, I guess it's a slightly bigger trade-off. Adepts are being annoying on the 3rd base, but herO saw that indeed Serral did respect these adepts, so he didn't really commit into this any of those shades. So adepts just get into safe position. They connect with Oracle. Very nice movement here. He didn't really expose his adepts at any time of the game, right? Because they were at the quite safe position in between the minerals, and after they were out of this position, Oracle came and also protected this adepts. So now adepts are trying to get some more shades in, but Serral is known for his good defense, so Zerglings are always in position. Tries to get this creep already. A decent damage, right? So he's been quite annoying in this regard. 3rd base is also on the way. Adepts keep on shading, and as you can see, Queens can have to kind of respect these adepts, so Oracles simultaneously can get some damage done on the 3rd base of the Zerg player. Gets 2 drones, which is a good result, to be honest. This is usually infinite amount of drones, more than I get against Serral, so props to herO. Even more drones, 6 total. This is a very good start. And at the same time, we were continuously warping adepts from 1 gateway, I believe. I don't think we have more. Yeah. So herO got 2 more adepts ready. Another one is on the way. So we have 5 total. And after that, we can move across the map with all of them. Blink is on the way alongside with +1 attack. Serral sent his Overlord on the hero's main, so he sees everything, but he doesn't see that herO has nothing in the wall. By the way, herO still puts a Stalker there, which is a very good episode for him. Adepts are here, and herO shades in. I believe this was a mistake, because as you can see from his camera movement, he kept looking at this adept, so I think he was trying to cancel the shade, but it didn't succeed, so he has to commit even further. Links are in a very good position. Queens are also helping Links. Tries to get some stasis traps going, but he spent a lot of energy doing so, and this part of the harassment, I believe, wasn't that good, because we killed 0 drones. Losses, as you can see, are now very even, but yes, we caused a little bit of distraction, of course. We forced a little bit of Links, so it's not that bad, but definitely could be better. I think the best thing that herO could do is just to leave these 6 adepts near the 4th base that Serral was building, and just cancel it with adepts and with the help of the 2 oracles. Usually it's very hard for Zerg to deal with it. So this definitely was a good exchange for Serral, but I don't think herO hates his life that much, because at the same time he was building probes, right? He was investing in his economy, his blink timing is decent. He has +1 already. He has a second forge on the way. So this game is definitely playable, more than playable. And we try to expand to our 4th base. What I want to point out is that I think herO has a very good personal shape at the moment. You can clearly see that he was practicing a lot. Like, his macro is good, his micro is always good, he never gets supply blocked. His build orders are actually look quite tight, right? Like, I can't really judge him that much about his build orders. They're very good. So this game we go for Storm, we go for double forge. My assumption is that Korean Zergs played like Hydra Bane or just Bane in general on this map. That's why herO is going for second forge. In my opinion, second forge is not that good against non-Zergling, non-Baneling based styles, right? So like if you're talking about like mass lurker style, I would probably get some extra high Templars or like earlier career tech, for example, rather than second forge, but it's obviously not a mistake, right? It's just a stylistic choice, and in my opinion, it's just better against Link Bane focused armies, and not as good against lurkers, but of course against lurkers it can work as well. herO feels good enough about his Stalker count, so he moves out. Oracles are helping out with Zerglings. As you can see, every movement with the Stalkers is very well thought of, right? He doesn't overextend, he doesn't go too deep, he respects his opponent, so he understands that Serral is probably ready and have enough units, so he doesn't really go deep enough to be surrounded, and he doesn't spend too much energy on nothing, right, with his oracles. They're always underneath, above the Stalkers, so they always help. And money are being well spent. We get some cannons on the 3rd base, and at this point, when we have good upgrades, we have Storm, it's a good moment for herO to take the full map control. And as we were talking earlier, the map control is probably one of the most important things you can get in this matchup. So herO sees that there are lurkers, so he can finally... So lurkers are very hard to move around the map, right? You have to unburrow them and burrow them, although they're quite fast, but still, it's much harder than, for example, Zergling, right, or Baneling, that can always pounce on top of you at any given moment if you're slightly out of position. With lurkers, it's not the case. They actually have to get in position, and if you're at Zerg's base, the worst position they can get into is just defensive position, right? So this is exactly what herO is using here. He's trying to get lurkers out of position. Because of that, he cancelled the 5th base, which is a very good sign. Like, you really don't want to let Zerg get all of the sweet gases he really wants from the 5th base. Gas number 9 and 10 are obviously very good, especially if you have to transition further for Zerg, right? If you want to get these Corruptors out, if you want to get maybe even Broodlord follow-up, some Viper, some Spellcasters, you really need these gases, so it's obviously good to deny this base early, so it will be easier to keep the tempo up later into the game. Now herO decides to back away a little bit, get the 5th base up. There is also a decent map control, I would say, but the Prism just died in the map control, so maybe it's not really present. But we are pretty well aware of what is happening on the left side of the map, right? Because we have a Study Strap. By the way, if you don't know, Study Strap actually have a very big side view. It was buffed in one of the recent patches, I believe. So it's very nice to use them as a map control. If you just leave them and they're gone unspotted, they pretty much cover one of the paths they can take. And at this point, herO decides to split his army, which is also another great way of dealing with lurkers. You really want to make it hard for Zerg to make any moves. And I already discussed this on my channel, but I can repeat it once again, is that StarCraft is a game of attention, right? Attention is a resource, probably the most important resource you have in the game, so you always want to make your opponent spend this resource elsewhere, but not on attacking you, right? You don't want to just sit back home, do nothing, don't poke your opponent, and just pray that nothing bad happens to you. You always want to keep doing something and make sure your opponent doesn't have enough time and energy to do anything offensive to you. And this is exactly why herO is so successful. This is exactly why he's so good. He is always in your face. He always gonna go and do something, even if the move seems not good. He's still gonna do it, and for you as his opponent, it will be so hard to deal with, because you'll be like, oh, maybe he actually knows what he's doing, but sometimes he doesn't, or sometimes he's like, yeah, he thinks that you won't be ready for certain move, and he uses this as a great opportunity for him. A nice Nidus play by Serral. I believe it was a good trade for our Finnish Zerg opponent, but herO also finds this little opening on the very left side of the map. He cancels the 5th base on the top side of the map as well, but it's actually turning into a disaster, because here the queens killed the mothership, the left side army got cornered and killed. On the top right side we still have a little bit of army left, but if you look at the army tab, it's actually non-existent. It feels very bad for herO right now, because he also lost his 5th base, and it really feels grim for him right now. Luckily enough, Serral tries to attack this 4th base, but this 4th base has a lot of cannons, so it will be very hard to attack into. This was very good for herO, obviously, because, for example, 3rd base or the 2nd base are very unprotected if you compare them to this 4th base, so it was good. It gives us some time to recover, especially since our economy is better than opponent's economy. Then the time is played on us, right? And every second that passes by, it's good for us. herO now tries to transition into Tempest. He gets double mortal production. And what I also want to point out is that the previous army of herO wasn't that high tech, right? Like, he was doing he was making a lot of Stalkers and Archods, and this is not quite what you want to have against Lurkers. Like, most of the times you actually want to have Immortals, because Immortal is by far the best anti-ground unit Protoss have against Zerg, right? It pretty much counters everything that Zergs have on the ground, and you really have to think about transitioning into something more powerful as Zerg, right? You want to transition into perhaps Broodlords, because Broodlords are great against Immortals. So now herO transitioned into a better army quality, so he should have an easier time dealing with that. And as you can see now, he still doesn't have enough forces ready, so he ends up in a very bad position. He loses his 4th base, he loses his 5th base, but this is a brilliant move. I really like this move. When I was watching this game, I was like, wow, this is so smart. He takes half of his army, he goes counterattack. He left a little bit of units at the base, so if Serral keeps pushing, he can defend this. So he gets the 3rd base of the Zerg. Now he has recall available. Serral had to pull back from the 4th base because he was so afraid he didn't manage to finish it. And now there is a nice round happening. So yes, we still lose this 4th base, but look at this round. The Nidus that Lurkers were supposed to jump into got destroyed. So 2 forces connect, and actually we got an amazing trade. And this is exactly what I'm saying when that StarCraft is a game of attention. herO drew his opponent's attention absolutely in the wrong direction. Serral was paying more attention, I guess, on the 4th base, and he didn't anticipate herO to make such a good army movement. So now the table is completely turned. If you look at the army quality, it actually favors herO a little bit, especially in the gas, which is arguably the most important thing. The 4th base is also getting established now, and herO feels confident enough going across the map. I can't blame him for that, because our army is actually quite powerful now. We have 5 Archons, we have 7 Immortals, we have Mothership, we have Tempest. Of course, Serral is also ready. He sends a counterattack across the map. There are things with +2 and Adrenal Glands, which is obviously very scary. But I believe we managed to deal with these links with reinforcements, which is very important, because if you lose this base again, I believe it would be quite deadly. So we keep trying to play this game, we keep trying to outmaneuver our opponent with our strong army, because as we said, Zerg can't really pounce on your army. He has to be ready in position, and once again, look at the beautiful mothership movement. He moves his army to the left side, he uses this mobility of his opponent's army, and he jumps on the very right base that was unprotected, only 2 lurkers here, couple of spores, but it's completely not enough. Serral is not ready. We also have mothership time warp, I believe, so we can always use it as our tool as well. We finish the hatchery, which is a big deal, and once again base count is 4 to 4, which can't be bad for Protoss at all. What is a little bit rough now for herO is that he's not splitting his army on the left side of the map. I think this is what he has to address right now, because these counterattacks are actually getting a lot of value, because they, first of all, they obviously cancel the bases, which is very bad, but they also force us to warp a lot of useless units that are actually not that bad. Like, for example, Zealot at this stage of the game, especially when the base count is so low, you don't really want to have any Zealots, right? Like, you would prefer to spend your minerals to something else. Like air units, they are quite mineral intense, or even cannons. Cannons are quite a good value, right, for their mineral price. So you really don't want to warp Zealots, and in this case, Serral is actually forcing a lot of Zealots, and this is good. And I don't know if you guys know, but Zerglings are actually much better than Zealots in the later game, when they get these upgrades, when they give armor, especially when they give +3 armor. There is no chance for Zealots, but even if they just have attack upgrades and they have adrenal glands, they still trade amazingly against just Zealots without any Archons or High Templars, right? So this is also what I can judge here a little bit about, because at this point, as you can see, he actually split his army. So this is good, but if he would do it a little bit earlier, maybe he would have even more bases and there would be much more protected, because the only thing you have to do pretty much is to get your base established, you get the cannon set up there, and after that you don't have to care about this base anymore, right? Maybe you leave like one High Templar or something. And if you don't do that, it actually becomes quite rough. Very nice play by Serral. He actually denied 5th and 6th base of herO with just 2 roaches borrowed, and he also got the 5th base, so now the game slowed down, and I think in this case it probably favors Serral. Like, this is a little bit of a thing that I don't really like, and this that herO is either way too in your face or he's very passive, right? Like here he was like, okay, I guess my opponent is dead, as he was in game 1, but he's not. So he actually managed to expand when herO was slower on his attacks, and I think Serral doesn't have life anymore. His gas income is very good. He's actually outmining by quite a big margin, and his army quality is actually very high. So I think at this point of the game, I probably like it more for Serral. He has a good army quality. He has a good income. Once Zerg establishes his bases, and once again, when you establish a base and you put a good enough defense, of course it won't be enough against main army, but it becomes way easier when the armies are split, right? And in this case, armies are indeed split, so it's much harder for herO to cancel the bases. And he decides to, okay, I can't do that anymore, which is probably a right judgment. And he's like, okay, I will play a slower game now. I will transition to Tempest. And I really like this decision, because Tempest are, in my opinion, are very, very strong in these situations against Zerg, because if you play perfectly, if you are a computer, right, Alpha Star maybe, then if you do everything correctly and you don't give Zerg any chances, you should probably win, right? Because you will just keep picking up units one by one. But in real life, of course, it doesn't really work this way, because, as I said, the StarCraft is a game of attention, so Zerg most of the time is gonna try to be annoying in some other part of the map, and simultaneously they'll try to abduct your Tempest, for example, right, or make an attack on the unprotected base. So like even the singular lurkers like this from the Nidus, they make the life quite a bit harder for herO, because he has to pull he has to pull back, he has to deal with them, he has to have a detector nearby. I would really like him to get RoboBay. In my opinion, this is a very good tool in the later game, because especially when you're that rich, right? You invest 150, 150, 100, 100 into observer speed, and your life becomes so much easier. But yeah, it's I guess it's hard to get it when you're so caught up into the game. Another signature herO move. So as you can see, I think herO practiced late game quite a bit. He was actually preparing a lot for this tournament, obviously, because this is a $1 million tournament. So he probably practiced a lot of late games, and we can see his army movement is very strong, his macro is very strong, and he has some signature moves that I really like. Now he feels strong enough to move on the map a little bit. He split his army once again, which I like. As I said, at this point it's probably not very realistic to just move in a one big blob anymore. So he tries to catch Serral off guard somewhere, and so far it works quite well, because here we have Tempest, Archon, Storm army, so it's hard to jump on top of it with Broodlords, and here we have Mass Immortal Mothership army, so this army is obviously very, very good against Broodlords. Very nice usage of Infestors, though. This is exactly why it's so hard to move around the map, so I would assume this was a big mistake, because herO loses a lot of the expensive units he spent so much time building, and as an exchange he gets this base on the, I guess this is a third base, right, but it's almost mined out, so Serral definitely outpositioned his opponent here. He made him make the wrong move, although it didn't really look that good for herO at the start. What I think he could do differently is to, once he saw that the lurkers are on the right side, and this attack on the left is so scary for Serral, right? Because if he loses a base on the two bases on the left side, he has no mining left. I think the best way would be to recall all of the bottom forces on the mothership, on the recall of the mothership, and just attack with one big force on the top right. So at least you would get two bases there, which would be good, because obviously, once, as I said, Serral's units are very slow, so you really want to outmaneuver them, and this would be a cool maneuver, because you recall instantly, and Zerg has to pull the Broodlords, he has to pull Infestors that are not very fast as well, and you could definitely get a very good exchange there. We got another base, so the game is definitely not over yet. We have a big Tempest army, and we keep trying to have Mothership split away, and I think this is a right choice. I also like the addition of Void Rays. I think this is a way to go in a later game. When you face many Corruptors and you have Tempest, I think Void Rays are very useful, because they kind of give you a good damage output against Corruptors, because other than Void Ray, I'm not really sure what kills Corruptors that well, to be honest, like Storm, I guess, but most of the time what happens is that you have 5 Tempests, let's say, no Void Ray, and Zerg just dives on top of your Tempest, kills it, and pulls away. And yes, his Corruptors are bruised, but they're not dead, right? And as long as their Zerg unit is not dead, it doesn't count, because they're gonna come back. Queen's gonna transuse it, maybe of course, they regenerate hit points over time. Another attempt of an attack, but I'm afraid it's not the right place to attack, because Lurkers with Queens, this is a deadly combo. You never want to attack into Lurkers with Queens, because they become, like, once the two are present at the same time, they just have infinite hit points. Like, you can never ever break this kind of force on the ground, so you definitely don't want to face this at the same time. 3 Zealots are trying to attack this base, but they don't really do much, but herO sees, like, wait, I guess he doesn't have that many fast units anymore, so we can maybe try to once again catch some of the opponent's attention with this tiny little run base. Another beautiful Mothership movement, I really like it. It goes across all the units, while these 3 Zealots are trying to distract Serral, so he has to keep attention on the very top base, but he also has to keep attention on the Zealots to deal with them with Lurkers potentially, and this Mothership gets into a very good position. Serral is absolutely unprepared, because Broodlords are on the top right side of the map. So we kill the one base, we're gonna kill the another base, most certainly, because there is not really a good way of protecting this base right now. And we don't forget, Mothership recall and Nexus recall are two different things. So you can actually recall on your Mothership first, and after you can Mothership, you can use a Nexus recall. So here at this, in this situation, he definitely outplayed his opponent. He got 2 bases for free, and Serral also didn't feel like he could do anything to herO, because he can always recall, right? So herO sees that some of the lurkers are there. I believe we're gonna recall now. Yeah, we recall. The lurkers are not quite ready to fight this Tempest Void Force. Some more zealots are split. herO is trying to be as annoying as possible. I can only respect that. This is how you should play StarCraft in general. Even on your level, like maybe you can say that, yeah, what herO is doing is so hard, but trust me, any level of play, if you just make your goal to distract your opponent as much as possible and spend as much of their attention as possible, it's always easier to try to draw someone's attention than spend this attention, you know, because yeah, like you just don't know what opponent can throw at you simultaneously, right? Like maybe he's gonna attack at some other base, so you're always gonna be worried, and it always makes your opponent play under stress. It feels a little bit scary to move out with this kind of army, because Void Rays are very vulnerable to Zerg spellcasters. They're good against Corruptors, they don't let them dive on top, but what happens when you have many Void Rays like that is that sometimes you can just get chain fungled or chained parasitic bombed, and your Void Rays just disappear. Actually, very nice micro here. Actually, Void Rays keep being at the back, so they're not vulnerable against any of the spellcasters. A very good job here by herO. He's definitely well aware of how his army works. He knows what he has to do to not make his unit die for free. Another attempt of repositioning, catch his opponent off guard somewhere. Broodlords are attacking a very nice chain fungals from the Serral's point of view. Nice Mothership, Time Warp. The Parabomb is dealing a lot of damage. We also lose a Mothership. It definitely wasn't free for Serral, because he lost, I believe, a couple of Infestors, he also got abducted, lost a couple of Broodlords to Tempest, but this was a very painful engagement. We get another Mothership, get some more carriers. I'm not sure if the carriers are that good, to be honest, because in my opinion carriers are just Void Rays and Tempest are just superior to carriers, because carriers are not doing anything to Corruptors. They're only good against Broodlords and spellcasters, right? But yeah, the point of this army is not to fight with this unit, so I would judge herO a little bit, in my opinion. I don't know, maybe if you're maxed out, 3 carriers wouldn't hurt, but I would definitely not make much more than that, because yes, in previous patches when there was a priority on the interceptors, they would tank a great amount of damage, right? But now if Zerg just moves in and tries to attack your army, he just gonna attack the Void Rays, Carriers, Tempest, anything that he actually wants to attack, and not the interceptor. So not really sure what Carriers are supposed to do here, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong in this regard. After all, the main part of his army I think is quite powerful. He still got a lot of Void Rays. Lost his Oracle. It's a bit funny that he keeps trying to take this forward base, not the one on the bottom. That is probably easier to defend, but I guess the reason for that is that there is still some creep present, and this base, like if you get this base, you can't really get blown away from this position anymore. A very nice usage of spellcasters by Serral. Look at this, he changed some fungals there. I believe there was a Parabomb as well. So, but herO manages to micro with his Templars quite well as well. So he pushes these units back. And what is another big problem of herO is that he was actually not building his upgrades consistently. His ground army is fully upgraded. He has three upgrades, but for air he only has +2 attack. And in the first game, as you can remember, he was pumping up these upgrades from 2 cybernetic score. He had 3 or like 3 at the end of the game. And in this game, it goes for 31 minutes already, and we still don't have these upgrades. And it's so important, especially if you play this air-based style, right? If you only get Tempest, yes, I can get that. You maybe get like 3 attacks and that's it. But if you still build Void Rays, if you still build carriers, I believe that it's very important to be maxed out on the upgrades, because this is just night and day difference, right? When you have these armor upgrades or you don't have them. So herO is probably quite upset, because sometimes you really get caught up in the moment, right? You keep playing, the game is so active, you're doing great moves, but you just forget about something. Like sometimes I have games when I play like for 15 minutes, I do everything so good, but I just at some point I just realized, wait, I had 2 forgers, but I only have +1, right? And this is very sad, and especially in the tournaments it might happen. So can't judge herO, but this is definitely a mistake that probably is not playing in his favor here. Although we still are getting the upgrades now, so maybe in the future when we max out on those, we still have still gonna make us chances better. But all these trades, all the 50k resources that we lost, they were lost without proper upgrades. Oracle is on the way, I believe. Yeah, we have 1, so it's fine. I was about to say that it's scary to make moves without oracles, because Observer are so easy to snipe, and without vision you just die to Infestor, right? Infestor just neural parasite all of their expensive units, and you can't really do much. Here decides that, okay, maybe he doesn't really need Immortals anymore, which I can't get behind, to be honest. I think in the very, very late game, although I'm a big hater of Archons, I think even Archons are better than Immortals, because when you have a big Tempest, Void Ray, even carrier army, I guess couple of Archons are good to just do a splash damage to a big blob of Raptors, right? Yeah, I think this was a bit of an overextension. I think it's very greedy to try to kill one base with Immortals and after keep moving forward, right? Because at that point, his opponent already got the alert that something is happening, right, with this Immortal, so he will try to react somehow. So this was not ideal as well, but also, while Serral was detected there, we managed to get this base, so still a very nice movement with the rest of his army. Get this base. The Zealots didn't quite get enough on the very top right side of the map. Immortals are a little bit in the wrong position. I would really love them to go on the top right side of the map. herO feels confident enough that he can take this fight. I'm not so sure about that, but so far this fight is actually great, because everything is getting stormed, Tempest are hitting everything, carriers are getting a little bit too forward, Mothership is dead as well, and it might get ugly very fast at this point, because what do we exactly have left? We don't have any Void Rays left. I'm not really sure what happened with Void Rays. They probably died to casters, so now we have not enough. We might have not enough forces to fight against Corruptors, because Corruptors against Carriers and Tempest, these units are very good. But we still try to take a big fight, because at this point, once you commit, you have to do something. Not a very good recall, because yes, finally he realizes that maybe he can't really go forward because he doesn't have enough anti-air forces. But he tries to recall his carriers, but Tempests are also not going back, right? Because he only have 1 recall at this point. So herO tries to pull back to this base. Broodlords are attacking, Corruptors are attacking. We still have battery overcharge running, but it slowly runs out. We try to kill the Broodlords, because I believe this is the last anti-ground that Serral has, but Corruptor count is just too high. We have Queens left still. This is one of the last bases of herO, so we don't really have much more resources left. Army of Serral is still so scary. We have some Hydras on the way, we have some Lynx on the way, so now at this point Serral probably understands that the only way he loses this game is if herO blinks on top of the Broodlords with Stalkers and kill them all, and there is some Corruptors in the sky, so they are not doing anything. So he just decides that, okay, I can just get some Lurkers out, and if you look at the global situation of the map, look at how broke Serral is. herO actually killed his last economy. This base is also down. This base is not existent. There is not much economy going, but I'm afraid that the last fight was just a little bit too bad for herO. He was so close of beating Serral on this one, but here the Serral's army is just getting insane, because now we have Broodlords, we have Overseers with Corruptors, right, that gonna kill all the observers that are happening, and once you have Broodlord and Lurker combo, there is really no chances to win a fight with ground force. And I really think if there were a couple of mistakes that Hero did, there were mistakes with the cybernetics cores that I was talking about, but his movements on the map were so good. So I really think, although Serral is definitely winning this one, I think Hero deserves a very big respect for this game. Like, this is the highest level of PvZ I've ever seen. The game was so back and forth, it was so fun. I really hope you enjoyed this one, and see you in the next videos. Thank you so much. Bye bye.